Tonight we're settling in an hour of horror stories. So hopefully some will be eerie, some will be unsettling, and maybe even a few will stick with you long after the stream ends.
But before we get into the first story, let's grab our cups and talk about tea.
So tonight I am drinking the Puka Pukka 3 mint tea. And the 3 mints it has is peppermint, spearmint, and field mint. I haven't heard of field mint before. Anyways, oh, and then it's allergy season, so I am drinking creamed honey with spearmint also infused in it. So, yes. Yeah. Oh, the peppermint.
So we had similar thoughts because I'm drinking Bigelow's Perfectly Mint tea.
Oh.
And it's got black tea and spearmint. And all right, let's dim the lights, get comfortable, and dive into some creepy stories as much as we can. Dim it, it's still bright here in Texas.
Okay, it is fixed. Magic.
Keith had said, well, naturally, someone with the username Bam Bam Bigelow will approve of that.
Love it.
And Diana said, sipping on gin and juice. Alrighty then.
All right. Oh, where do we want to put the chat? Oh man, we have so many. Let's put them in the middle. We'll put the chat in the middle. Let's all get spooky together.
Another night on Planet Alyssa.
You know what?
I mean, you're not wrong.
You're not. Okay. Okay. Chat is joining us too in the
Totally fine. Sure, I'll start us off. Why not?
That might be a good idea. Obviously, I'm a mess. Obviously, I'm not put together right now.
All right, so this first story is called The Reflection. It's off of Reddit, and it's by Overbuyer5825. I was 6 years old when I first saw it. It was late at night, and I had woken up to get a glass of water. As I passed the hallway mirror, I noticed something strange. My reflection wasn't moving right. It blinked too late, tilted its head a fraction of a second after I did. I remember staring at it, frozen in place. Then, slowly, it smiled. I ran back to bed, pulled the covers over my head, and convinced myself that it was just my imagination. Kids see things, right? That's what my parents told me when I tried to explain. Years passed. I grew up. But the mirror, it never stopped watching. Sometimes in the corner of my eye, I'd catch my reflection standing still when I moved. Other times, I'd wake up in the middle of the night and find my bedroom mirror slightly tilted, like someone had touched it. I tried to ignore it. Really, I did. But then last night, I finally broke. I was brushing my teeth when I dropped my toothbrush. As I bent down to pick it up, I saw it. My reflection was still standing, staring straight at me. My breath caught in my throat. Slowly, I stood up. It stood up too. But this time, it didn't smile. It leaned closer to the glass and whispered, "You've been watching me too." And then it reached out.
That's scary. I don't like that. Why did we choose to do this? Oh, so just a fun fact. Well, I guess a fun fact, but okay. So those who, I don't know how far back everyone has seen our YouTube channel, but this is way back in our old YouTube days. And we actually did read scary stories to each other. And I really loved it because we both were under a blanket.
I considered doing it again this time.
I know, but it's just not practical.
It's really not. And it's kind of warm today. So, being under a blanket with little to no airflow, it just doesn't really make that much sense.
Yeah. But yes, I agree. It is a solid start.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this one is called The Basement Recording. I bought an old house and found a stack of cassette tapes in the basement. Curious, I
Burn
played
them.
one. It was a low, whispering voice saying, I see you. The next tape, I hear you. Then the third, I know where you are. I laughed nervously and put on the fourth tape. The voice was different this time, more excited. I'm right behind you.
All right, this one's a little bit longer, and it is also off of Reddit. All of the ones I got were off of Reddit. This one is by Waiting the Number 4 Mid Moon. It's called My Mom Worries Far Too Much. My mom worries far too much about everything. Catching the bus, riding electric scooters. The whole world's a threat to her. A dark alley waiting to swallow me whole. But I'm not stupid. I'm careful. I keep my phone on me at all times. I'm not naive. I tell her I'm going out to meet friends. Her worry's already there, etched on her face. Just be careful, all right? I roll my eyes. I will. I'm 16. Not a little kid. But to her, the world's nothing but sharp edges. She even bought me pepper spray. Made me carry it everywhere. I take the bus home from school every day, alone. But that's dangerous, apparently. Creeps everywhere, she says. Nothing's happened. I ride scooters when the bus takes too long. They're fast, fun. But all she sees are accidents. Broken bones. Blood. And now this. Online dating? She asked, horrified. People lie. They lure you in. I laughed in her face. I'm not dumb, Mom. I'm just talking to people. I don't tell her I'm going out tonight. She'd only lecture me. Go on about predators and horror stories she's read online or watched on Netflix. But I know what I'm doing. And he seems nice. Kind. Normal. She really does worry too much. I take the bus to the address he gave me. Phone's fully charged. Pepper spray in my purse. I'm good. The house is old. Stained bricks. Flickering porch lights. He said that his place was run down. Just renovations. It's fine. I text him. Tell him I'm here. But there's no response. My phone suddenly rings. Mama Bear is calling. I cut her off and quickly put my phone on silent. I walk up the dusty steps and knock. The door creaks open. He's not what I expected. Older. Eyes wrinkled. Crooked teeth. Come on in, he says. Voice smooth as silk. Clearly not his first time. I hesitate slightly. Maybe I should leave. Maybe Mom was right. But then I remember. She worries far too much. I smile. Shoulder sagging. Sorry, I was just nervous. Meeting someone in person and all. His grin grows. He gestures me inside, his eyes glinting like he's peeling me apart. I step through the door, let it click shut. My fingers slowly curl around the pepper spray. I normally wait for the offer of a drink, but this time, I just went for it. I whipped out the pepper spray and pressed as hard as I could. He chokes and stumbles, hands clawing at his eyes, retching and gasping for air. You know, I say, my voice steady, calm. My mom always worries that someone's going to hurt me, that I'm not careful enough. He's on his knees now, blind, pathetic. I pull out my knife. But I lean in, my lips brush against his ear. She worries far too much. Stab. My phone vibrates in my pocket. Another match. I smile, tapping the screen. He seems nice. Kind. Normal. All in all, just another creep I need to get rid of so Mom won't worry anymore.
Man, that's a good one. And you're such a good storyteller. I get so sucked in.
Why, thank you.
The first one I have is called The Extra Roommate. My roommate always locks the bathroom door when he showers. One night, I walked by and heard him talking to someone inside. I knocked and joked, "Who you got in there?" Silence. Then a shaky voice, he replied, I thought you were in there with me. This one is called The Watching Eye. My little sister was terrified of the old vent in her bedroom. It watches me, she'd say, crying every night. One day I got fed up and shined a flashlight inside to show her it was empty. Something inside blinked. That is like nightmare
Nope.
fuel. I don't know.
That's a big fat nope right there.
Like, especially like as a kid, I would look into the vents just like expecting a fucking face to like look at me.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
yeah. All right, so this third one is called The Wrong Mother. My daughter ran to me in the middle of the night sobbing, Mommy, Mommy, there's a lady in my closet who looks like you. I calmed her down, hugged her close, and took her back to bed. As I tucked her in, she whispered, But she said, You're not my real mommy.
Salt. Salt. Iron. Alrighty. This one is called I'm Trapped with My Dead Friend. It's by Dark Legends Never Die. I can't feel my fingers. I can't feel my toes. The wind screams in my ears, rattling the rope that's the only thing keeping me from falling into the abyss below. My breath is ragged, little clouds of ice forming as I exhale. My arms are burning, my shoulders locked, my legs dangling uselessly behind me. But worst of all is the silence. The silence where Mark's voice should be. It happened so fast. One moment we were climbing, laughing, talking about the beer we'd crack open once we reached the top. Then Mark's ice axe slipped. His boot missed the hold. He screamed just once before his head cracked against the ice. A sickening, wet sound, like a hammer hitting raw meat. Then he was gone. I called his name, but he didn't answer. I knew he wouldn't. I knew before I even looked down and saw him lying there, his body twisted unnaturally against the frozen rock. Blood pooled beneath his head, bright against the snow. I tried to move, but my harness was stuck. The rope that connected us had caught on a jagged piece of ice. It was the only thing keeping me from joining him at the bottom. My arms shook as I tried to pull myself up, but I was too weak, too cold. Every breath felt like knives in my lungs. Minutes passed, maybe hours. I couldn't tell anymore. My body was screaming, but my mind had gone quiet. Just the wind, the ice, and me. Then I saw the lights. Far below, small beams cut through the dark. I blinked, barely believing my eyes. People, rescuers. They were coming. I tried to shout, but my throat was frozen, the words trapped behind my lips. I opened my mouth, but only a croak came out. Still, they must have seen me. They had to. The lights moved closer. I let out a breathless laugh, tears freezing against my cheeks. They were here. I was going to be okay. I watched as they reached Mark's body. Their flashlights hovered over him. Someone knelt, checking his pulse. I knew what they'd find. Nothing. He was gone. Then one of them stood. He looked up, straight at me. I opened my mouth again, trying to say something, anything. I needed them to help me. Another figure moved beside him. They spoke, but I couldn't hear them over the wind. Then I felt it. The rope jerked. I barely had time to react before it went slack. I didn't even have time to scream. Then they cut the rope.
And that's how it ends? Oh. Well. Because, so the first category is unsettling home hauntings.
Go for it.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Yes. Okay. So the first one is I tucked my son into bed and closed his door, only to hear him whisper from behind me, There's someone in my room. When I turned back, the door was wide open and his bed was empty. That would be pretty chilling as a parent, I can imagine.
That also sounds like a nightmare because the bedtime routine is usually pretty like exhausting. Just
Like you did all of that, only had to have to do
did
it
all
again.
that, got them in bed, was leaving the room. I have to do it all over again.
All right. I woke up.
Again, salt.
Yeah, yeah. I woke up to my dog growling at the foot of my bed, staring at the dark corner of the room. I turned on the light and saw the closet door swing shut. That would be terrible. Oh, my ears itchy, but oh god. Like don't anything with the closet and I'm immediately out.
Yeah, ours is a decent size, so I'd be grabbing a bat or some other kind of weapon.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yep.
I'm gonna send in Jax after it first too.
This one I feel like other it's the pretty common one, but it's still like a really good one. So, all right, so my mom called me downstairs for dinner, so I left my room. As I reached the stairs, my mom pulled me back and whispered, I heard it too. Oh, I hate shit like that.
I've heard that one before.
Yeah,
I feel like that one might have actually been on our last stream.
it might have been, probably.
Stories.
It's been a couple years, so.
Yeah.
Every night I hear the old rocking chair creaking in the nursery. My daughter died before she was ever born. Oh, that's sad.
That is sad. Nice of
Um,
her to visit though.
yeah. Okay. Can you help me find my parents? The little girl asked from my doorway. The police still haven't found out how she got inside.
This one's called Professional Courtesy, and it's by narrow_muscle 9572. And here we go. One of the scariest experiences I ever had was when I was driving down a dirt road at night a few summers ago. I had been behind the wheel for about 3 hours at this point and hardly had any sleep the previous 2 nights. In truth, the only thing that was keeping me awake was coffee and sheer determination not to get in a car accident. The side road I was taking was new to me, but according to the map, it was only 36 miles more than it would have been if I was going on the freeway. Not bad considering how long I had been driving up to this point, and then I still had another half an hour to go. I was deep into farm country when I came across the first headlights I saw since turning off the main road. It was those annoyingly bright ones where, once installed, the driver will magically forget that low beams exist. As we got closer to each other, I tried to shield my eyes while also attempting to see the road in front of me. I swore at the driver of the truck when we passed each other, and it wasn't like he could have heard me either. However, the moment we passed the other, he whipped a U-turn so fast that there was no mistaking that he was coming after me. My car wasn't going to win any races, so it didn't take long before he got right up to my bumper, flashed his high beams. Amazingly, what I saw before was the low beams. Why these lights are still legal, I have no idea. And laid on the horn. Naturally, I was freaked out and my mind was running wild. The only thing that comforted me was the fact I had a loaded gun in the center console. I hoped I wouldn't have to use it, but this guy wouldn't leave me alone. I was tired, had a hard day, and my mind wasn't thinking right. Otherwise, I wouldn't have pulled over. The plan was that I was going to aim the gun at the driver, tell them off, and watch them drive off. However, before I could do any of that, the truck pulled up right next to me, rolled the window down, and said this. The person in the trunk is trying to flag down other drivers, man. Figured I'd let you know. Professional courtesy, you know? Have a good day. He drove off without giving me time to respond, so I wasn't able to thank him. Not that night, anyways. I would get the chance to thank him at a snuff film festival that following spring.
Doppelgangers. Okay. Okay. We'll do
okay.
doppelgangers. We can still get to the creatures.
Yeah, it's all good.
All right. My wife's been chatting with me all night, laughing in the kitchen. So why is my phone lighting up with a text from her saying, Don't come home. He knows my face now. I went to wake my brother up, but he was already up staring at me from his bed, wide-eyed. Don't wake me, he whispered. I was scrolling through my phone when I got a Snapchat from myself. It was a picture of me sitting in my room, taken from my closet. My daughter ran to me crying, saying, "Mommy, there's a man in my room." When I tucked her back into bed, I kissed her forehead and whispered, "That's not your room." I watched my husband leave for work, waving from the window. Then behind me, he whispered, "Who was that?" Let's go ahead and do the nightmare creatures.
Okay.
My roommate kept complaining about the scratches on the wall. I never told him I saw what was making them. I woke up to my cat hissing at something in the corner. Then I remembered, I don't have a cat. The last thing I saw before I blacked out was the thing in the mirror. When I woke up, it was gone, and my reflection was smiling. My little sister asked why the shadow behind me had too many arms. We were alone in the house. I turned off my bedroom light and crawled into bed. As I pulled the covers up, I heard a whisper, "I was not done watching."
So this next one is called Bilby.
Okay.
And it's by Cal_10. TIN. Cooper watched the two girls, arms locked and spinning, singing the nursery rhyme. Bilby, Bilby, come out and kill me. His mouth hung open. What kind of grotesque nursery rhyme was this? Bilby, Bilby, come out and... Hello, Cooper said. The girls shrank back at the interruption from the strange man. What had it been? 2 weeks since his last wash? 3 weeks? Nonetheless, he was sure he looked ragged. Hi, sorry to bother you girls, but I was curious. Where did you hear that song? The two girls looked at each other with concern. It's all right, Cooper said. I'll leave you alone to play, but please, if you could let me know, I would be really grateful. One of the girls stepped out from the interlock. Mister, we can't tell you. Cooper was struck with surprise. You can't? No, she said firmly. Well, why not? Because Bilby will come out of the forest and eat us, she said. He swore it. Kids, Cooper thought comically. Who is Bilby? We should go, the other girl said, grabbing her friend by the hand. They took off down the road before Cooper could protest. Bilby. Cooper thought the name sounded familiar, although he couldn't quite place it. He walked to a park at the edge of town and set up shop for the night, quickly finding a spot unnoticeable from the main drag. As he lay down, closing his eyes, he hummed the melody. Bilby, Bilby, come out and kill me. Cooper shot bolt upright. Kill me. His head shot sideways and looked into the wooded darkness. Hello? Cooper said unsteadily. Bilby, Bilby, the faint echo of the girls singing came from somewhere in the darkness. Come out and... You girls shouldn't be out at dark. Cooper surprised himself with a fright in his tone. Kill me. Something guttural finished the rhyme, not sounding like the girls. Then the girls began again. Bilby, Bilby. Cooper couldn't just let them be out alone in the woods at night. He stepped out, tiptoeing around the underbrush and into the wooded canopy, listening to the soft melody. Bilby, Bilby. Cooper estimated he was maybe 10 yards away. Come out and... He stepped into an opening. Moonlight lit his immediate surroundings from a hole in the canopy. Kill me. His body jerked, then froze in terror. A hooded figure crouched over the scattered remnants of the two girls. Their severed heads sat on 2 tree stumps, staring blankly at Cooper. The heads began to sing. Bilby, Bilby. Cooper opened his mouth, but nothing came. Come out and... The hooded figure's neck flicked up with an audible snap, and 2 red eyes gleamed from under the hood. Kill me, it croaked. Cooper screamed, and the figure pounced, ripping open his throat. Incapacitated, Cooper lay back, gurgling half-breaths as the monster gorged on his guts. Bilby, Bilby, come out and kill me, Cooper pleaded.
Damn! Oh, man. As I tucked my daughter into bed, she whispered, "Daddy, there's someone under my bed." I bent down to reassure her, only to hear her whisper again, "Daddy, there's someone in my bed." I was brushing my teeth when I saw my reflection smile at me. As I froze, the reflection winked and whispered, "Don't worry, I'm taking over soon." Pretty good.
Yeah.
This one, I like this story. This one's called The Strangers and the Photos. I love taking pictures, but I started noticing something strange. Every picture I took had the same shadowy figure in the background, getting closer in each one. I looked through the most recent set and realized he was standing right behind me. All right, this one piqued my interest. It's called The Crawl Space.
Oh, God.
Yeah. We found a hidden door in the attic that led to a narrow crawl space. At the end, there was a small makeshift bed and a single crumpled note. It read, "If you're reading this, it's already too late. He knows you found his home." And then there's another one called The Stalker. I keep getting texts from an unknown number that says, "I'm watching you." I tried to brush it off, but when I got home, my phone buzzed with the final message, "Nice red sweater." I looked down. I was wearing blue. I guess it's alluding to the fact that it's going to be red.
Yeah, probably.
Ooh, this one is called The Stranger in My House. I live alone, but I always wake up to small changes in my apartment. A chair slightly pulled out, a window open that I know I closed, the fridge door ajar. I thought I was just being paranoid until I set up a camera and saw a man slipping out of my closet every night while I slept. Nope. Nope.
Bit of a problem.
Oh, God. There's one called The Basement Door.
Go for it.
Every night at exactly 3:13 a.m., I hear the basement door creak open, followed by a slow, shuffling footsteps. The landlord says it's just an old house settling, but I don't believe him. I would have moved out weeks ago if I hadn't already nailed the door shut from the inside.
All right, I've got one here by Tough Evidence 4093. It's called Mother Please. The night was thick with silence, except for the sound of slow, dragging footsteps in the hallway. Ben sat curled in the corner of his room, gripping his blanket so tight his knuckles turned white. The candlelight flickered, casting shifting shadows on the walls. Then came the whisper. "Benny, my sweet boy, open the door for Mommy." His breath hitched. That wasn't his mother's voice. Not
Nope.
really. It was her tone. It was her words. But something else lurked beneath. Something hollow and wrong. Ben squeezed his eyes shut. "She's not real. She's not real." "Don't ignore me, baby. You know that hurts Mommy's feeling." His lip trembled. He wants to answer, but fear strangled him. The whispering stopped, and for a moment, silence returned. Then, bang! The door shuttered. Bang! A slow, wet thud, like something heavy slamming against the wood. Bang, bang, bang. Ben's stomach churned. He could hear her now, the soft, slurred, "Benny, let me in, sweetheart," between each horrible sound. He knew what she was doing. He could hear it, the sickening crunch of bone, the sticky smear of something wet dragging down the door. He covered his ears. "Mommy doesn't like it when you hide from her, Benny." A pause, then a whisper so close to the keyhole it was almost inside his head. "I can see you." Ben's breath came in ragged gasps. He had to move. had to get out, but the moment his foot shifted, the doorknob rattled. "There you are," she purred. The candlelight flickered wildly, then silence. Ben stayed frozen, waiting, the quiet stretch deeper, heavier, pressing into his skull like thick fingers. Then, slowly, the door creaked open. Just an inch. Just enough for him to see one thing. Her smile. Too wide, too many teeth. Blood dripping down her forehead, pulling at the corners of her lips. Mommy's home.
Oh. No. I veto. So I've got one called the baby monitor.
God.
I put my baby to sleep and turned on the monitor. A few minutes later, I heard static, then a quiet whisper, "He's awake." I rushed to the room, but my baby was fast asleep until I looked at the monitor again and saw a second pair of eyes watching me from the crib. Ew.
Can confirm in night mode, when the child's eyes are open, it looks like a cryptid.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I have a creepy image saved on my phone that I took of the monitor when she's just like staring between the bars of her crib when she was still sleeping in a crib
Oh my goodness.
and like staring at the camera, and I'm just like, oh no. Yeah, can confirm, creepy as hell.
So I've got another one called The Forgotten Room. When we moved into our new house, my son kept talking about the boy in the attic. I laughed it off as an imaginary friend until the day I went up there to check and found a small locked door I hadn't noticed before. When I pried it open, dust billowed into the air, and inside was an old mattress, children's toys, and a faded photo of my son, taken years before he was ever born.
Is a demon door.
Yep.
That is a thing, though. In really, really old houses in certain areas, if the child was not legitimate, or if they had some kind of disability or something that would quote unquote bring shame to the family,
Yeah.
they would hide them away in places like that.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right. This one is called The Wrong Reflection. I was brushing my hair in the mirror when I noticed my reflection was moving slightly out of sync. I lifted my hand and it did the same, just a fraction too late. I stepped closer, watching carefully, and then it smiled. I found there's an attic one that I want to try too. It's just called The Attic Door. I nailed the attic door shut years ago after hearing strange noises from above. Fair. Last night, I woke up to the sound of slow, deliberate footsteps overhead. When I went to check, I found the nails scattered on the floor and the door slightly ajar. Ew, I hate it. I hate attics. I hate attics. I hate basements. I hate crawl spaces. I hate all of them. A little girl named Emma found a strange, perfectly smooth potato in the garden one afternoon. When she brought it inside and went to peel it, her knife sank into the flesh and a small voice whispered, "I'm not done growing yet." The potato then began to twitch in her hand. Ew, that's just gross.
Awkward.
Okay, I got one more and then you can go to yours. So I have one I thought the chat might like called The Cracked Doll. I found an old porcelain doll in the attic with cracks in its face and one missing eye. When I showed it to my mom, she gasped, "We got rid of that years ago," she whispered. Nothing like a creepy doll.
This one is by Tinka Dreams of Wings. Mary is observant. Mary is clever. Mary knows when to keep quiet. Mary watches the little girl walking to school alone in the rain. The girl's faded red shoes kicking up dirty water. The girl always trips at the bus stop and falls into the road. The truck driver never sees her in time. Her body flies through the air before hitting the sidewalk, twisted up all wrong. The tops of her shoes are restained vivid red. Her face is frozen in surprise. Mary notices everything the police didn't, because Mary is observant. Mary pays a visit to the truck driver, asking about the girl with the red shoes he hit 20 years ago. The driver's face pales, as if he's seen a ghost. Mary tells him, "I see her ghost. Every day. I want to help her find peace." So the driver tells her about the man who walked by the bus stop. The man in a black hoodie with a kingfisher tattoo on his hand. The man who pushed the little girl into the road. Most people wouldn't be able to find a man 20 years later with that description. Mary isn't most. Mary is clever. Mary calls the man with the kingfisher tattoo from the payphone. "I have a job for you," she says. "My useless daughter is a drain on my resources." "I don't do that anymore," the man replies. She offers him $50,000, and she hears his breathing grow heavier over the line. She tells him a location. An hour later, the man stands at the bus stop, checking his watch and tapping his foot. Mary waits until a truck approaches. "Over here," she calls from across the street. The man looks up. Little hands, made strong by 20 years of rage and agony, shove into his back. He twists around, trying to keep his balance as he stumbles into the road. Mary hopes that he can see that girl, with her tattered backpack and ghostly rain dripping from the ends of her pigtails, her figure translucent as a hazy memory, except for the angry red of her blood-stained shoes. The girl waves cheerfully. The truck's brakes squeal too late. A passerby screams. Another swears. What the just happened? Mary knows when to keep quiet.
Ooh. Mary is dangerous.
There's just something about Mary, says Diana.
Oh. I've got one called The Shadow in the Rafters. My brother and I used to play in the attic as kids, but I always hated it. One day I looked up and saw a shadow sitting in the rafters, perfectly still. I never told my brother, and years later I asked him if he ever saw anything strange up there. He went pale and whispered, "You saw it too?" It's called The Door That Shouldn't Exist. We never had an attic door in our house, just a sealed-off space above the ceiling. One night, I woke up to a creaking noise and looked up. There was now a small wooden door in my bedroom ceiling.
Demon door!
Mm-hmm.
One day, Shelley came home from school. Her mom was at work, and no one was around to play. She didn't really feel like eating, so she just sat down and started doing homework. A few minutes later, the phone rang and scared her out of her study. "Hello?" she answered. The line was silent for a moment, and then the strangest, crackling man's voice came on the line. "I am the Bloody Finger, and I am 3 blocks away from your house." "Shut up," she said, and hung up the phone. A few minutes later, the phone rang again. This time, his breath was heavy, and he sounded a little angry. "I said, I am the Bloody Finger, and I am 2 blocks away from your house." Shelley quickly hung up on him, then called her mother, but her mother was nowhere to be found. She ran upstairs to her room, with the cordless phone in her tight grip, just in case her mom called back. At first, she sat on her bed, but then the phone rang again. Before even answering, she heard the man's voice whisper, "I am the Bloody Finger, and I am at your front door." She crawled under the bed, taking the phone with her. Shivering, she answered the next call. "I am the Bloody Finger, and I am at your bedroom door."
Shelley squeezed, covering her face with her hands, but stared at the door that was now opening. She watched the feet slowly step toward her bed, and an old man shoved his bloody finger right in her face and said, "I am the bloody finger. Got a band-aid?" That's kind of funny. The lead up is great, though.
It was great. Had me in the first half.
I have one called The Locked Trunk.
Okay.
I found an old rusted trunk in the attic, locked tight. When I finally pried it open, I expected to find old clothes or forgotten heirlooms. Instead, I found a mirror, tall, dust covered, and reflecting nothing at all. Ooh. Okay, this one's called The Extra Hand.
Okay.
I was pulling down the attic ladder when I felt someone grab my hand from above. Thinking it was my husband, I looked up. He was still standing behind me. And then this one's called The Old Chair. There was an old wooden chair in the attic that always seemed to face the entrance. No matter how many times I turned it away, the next day it always turned back, as if something was waiting for me.
I don't hear any to the contrary, so we're going to go with One of Us is Awake. And this is by trash_Tia.
Okay.
Goodbye, civilization. Hello, Canadian wilderness. I boarded the bus to camp with my book, only for it to be snatched from my grasp. Fuck. I tried to sidestep him, to push past him, but already he towered over me with a wide smile. I had tried so fucking hard to avoid him, sneaking on last. But there he was, the camp counselor, a smug-looking guy with dark blonde hair, sat next to me, waving my book. The horror at Camp Jelly Jam, he laughed. Aren't you a little old for Goosebumps? No. I reached for it and he pulled it back. Let me guess. They all die at the end. Wait, no. They're dead. We're in a time loop. I didn't speak. I couldn't. If I did, I was going to puke. When the bus started moving, he shot me a sickly smile. Sorry, they wouldn't let me be a counselor this year if I wasn't an ass. When I didn't respond, he held out his hand. I'm Harvey. Icebreaker time. I'm 18 and just got into Duke. Crystal, I gritted out. I'm not going to college. Wait, really? He snorted. Why? I turned to the window, watching the trees blur past. The words were thick in my throat, tangled and wrong. Or not at all. I'm supposed to fall in love with you, I whispered when Harvey was nodding along to his Walkman. Right here, right now, at this exact moment. I pressed my face against the cool window, stuffing my hands in my lap. I waited for it. For Harvey to rest his head on mine, mumbling, mind if I use you as a pillow? But he didn't move. Eyes closed, vibing to the music. I held my breath. This wasn't right. 20, Harvey murmured. 19. Something ice cold crawled down my spine. 18. 17. 16. Stop, I breathed. He chuckled, leaning back. Why should I? His eyes flickered open, hollow. 15, he hummed. 14. 13. 12. I barely felt him grasp my hand, nails digging in. 11. I squeezed his fingers and joined in. 10, I whispered. We were supposed to fall in love. In some faraway reality, I'm sure we do. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. The bus shuddered to a halt, and I flew forward. The doors open. 4, 3. Get on the fucking ground, now! 2. Screams erupted around me. A loud bang sent me to my knees. There was something wet slicking my cheeks, gluing my eyes shut. All I could see was red. Heavy footsteps coming towards me, ice-cold steel protruding into my forehead. 1. Goodbye, civilization. Hello, Canadian wilderness. I boarded the bus first. My book, immediately torn from my grasp. I saw his face, hiding behind his hair, the agonizing curl on his lip. I wondered how many times he'd fallen in love with me before he woke up. The horror at Camp Jelly Jam. Harvey laughed loudly, his voice breaking. Aren't you a little old for goosebumps?
A widow lived alone on the top floor of an apartment house. One morning, her telephone rang. "Hello?" she said. "This is the Viper," a man said. "I'm coming up." Someone is fooling around, she thought, and hung up. And half an hour later, the telephone rang again. It was the same man. "It's the Viper," he said. "I'll be up soon." The widow didn't know what to think, but she was getting frightened. Once more, the telephone rang. Again, it was the Viper. "I'm coming up now," he said. She quickly called the police. They said that they would be right over. When the doorbell rang, she sighed with relief. "They are here," she thought. But when she opened the door, there stood a little old man with a bucket and a cloth. "I am the Viper," he said. I wish to wash and wipe the windows." That's fun.
Also, what took him so long?
Yeah, for real.
3 days later.
That's fun. But that's going to wrap up our stories for tonight.
And if you want to stay up to date with everything we're doing, you can find our link tree listed below. But until the next time, guys, stay safe and stay spoopy.
Bye.